जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपीजना वल्लभ गिरिवराधारी जय जय गोपीजना वल्लभ गिरिवराधारी जय यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजना 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 यमुना तेरा वनाचार्य यमुना यमुना तेरा वनाचार्य यमुना जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवराधारी जय गोपी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवराधारी जय यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजना 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 यमुना तेरा वनाचार्य यमुना यमुना तेरा वनाचार्य यमुना जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय जय राधा माधव Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Guru. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya. Shri Shri Kishore Kishori ki jai, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki jai, Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavad-Gita ki jai, Samaveta Bhaktavind ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So, Hare Krishna. Thank you all very much for this opportunity to give a short class on Bhagavad-Gita here in front of Shri Kishore Kishori. Our visits to Kishore Kishori temple are always a little bit emotional because this is the birthplace of our family's Krishna consciousness. My parents first became devotees and connected to Srila Prabhupada and his movement here at Kishore Kishori Temple in Rogers Park. And I was born here in Chicago as well around that same time. And so we owe our spiritual lives basically to these beautiful deities who were very dear to Srila Prabhupada also. So anyway, it's a great privilege to offer some service to them and to all of you. Thank you for being here. This is not a planned lecture, so I'm not sure exactly where I'm speaking from. Did anyone have any particular suggestions or requests, or is there some place you're currently reading from that I can continue? So if not, then I'll choose one verse here. Chapter 6, verse number 7, 7, 8, and 9. Three very nice verses from Bhagavad-Gita. And I'll just recite the verse, the translation for all three, and then I'll read the purport for one of them. Okay? So, here it goes. Jitatmana prashantasya paramatma samahita shitoshna sukha dukkheshu tatha manapamanayo. Jitatmana prashantasya paramatma samahita shitoshna sukha dukkheshu tatha manapamanayo. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. For one who has conquered the mind, the supersoul is already reached, for he has attained tranquility. To such a man, happiness and distress, heat and cold, honor and dishonor are all the same. Please repeat. For one who has conquered the mind, the supersoul is already reached, for he has attained tranquility. To such a man, happiness and distress, heat and cold, honor and dishonor are all the same. Purport. Actually, every living entity is intended to abide by the dictation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is seated in everyone's heart as paramatma. When the mind is misled by the external illusory energy, one becomes entangled in material activities. Therefore, as soon as one's mind is controlled through one of the yoga systems, one should be considered to have already reached the destination. One has to abide by superior dictation. When one's mind is fixed on the superior nature, he has no alternative but to follow the dictation of the Supreme. The mind must admit some superior dictation and follow it. The effect of controlling the mind is that one automatically follows the dictation of the paramatma or supersoul. Because this transcendental position is at once achieved by one who is in Krishna consciousness, the devotee of the Lord is unaffected by the dualities of material existence, namely distress and happiness, cold and heat, etc. This state is practical samadhi, or absorption in the Supreme. So this is a beautiful verse from Bhagavad-Gita, one of my favorites. And this particular verse, Krishna's, I like especially this first line in Prabhupada's purport. He says, actually every living entity is intended to abide by the dictation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is seated in everyone's heart as Paramatma. So I remember one time we were driving from Utah, where I live. I teach at Utah State University, and from there to Boise, which is where my home is, and my parents are there at the temple. And this is a very empty stretch of the country. It's very, very lonely. And we had stopped in one place for a little rest, a break. And on our way out of that place, we decided to take a slightly different route, just to change the usual scenery. And, you know, I thought I knew the direction and so on. And somehow we left and we got confused. And the reason we got confused is my GPS lost its signal somewhere along the way. And I don't know if this has happened to you before, but if your GPS loses signal in a place you are not familiar with, whether it's a big city or an empty countryside, it's just you're lost, right? And there's this sense of panic of, oh, where am I? What am I doing here? How do I get out of here? And this is exactly the situation of every living entity in this world. We have an inbuilt GPS system within our bodies. This is the guidance of the Supersoul, who can direct us in whatever direction we need to be going. He says, Krishna says, Ishvara sarva bhutanam hriddeshe arjuna tishtati brahmayan sarva bhutani yantra rudhani mayaya. He says, I'm directing the wanderings of the different living entities. So we've got this amazing GPS system in our bodies, in our minds, connected to our soul. And yet the unfortunate condition of every living being in this world is that we have lost that GPS signal. We are like that person in an unknown foreign place. Actually, it's not like a beautiful countryside. It's like losing that signal in the worst part of downtown Miami or the dangerous sections of Chicago, right? It's frightening because you're someplace in the middle and you don't know how to get out. Basically, the question is the same that we asked on that day. Who am I? What am I doing here? How do I get out of here? Right? And how did I get into this mess, to start off with? And so we all deserve that guidance. We have it right here with us. But we can't see it. We can't hear it. The paramatma, we've lost touch with the super soul. Even though Krishna says in the Gita, he says, Upadrashtanumantacha, bharta bhokta maheshwara, paramatmeti chapyukto dehesmin purusha para. That in the heart, he says there's another superior being, purusha para, who is upadrashta, who's observing everything. Anumanta, who's giving us permission to do what we want. Upadrashta anumanta cha bharta, he's supporting us. He's experiencing things with us, bhokta, and he's the master, Maheshwara. And yet, we have lost touch with him. And that is our panicked situation in this world. And this is why we go through most of our life in a state of fear. That we're afraid. What will happen if I don't? As we grow up as children, you know, from the time we're babies, we have this fear of someone who is lost. A baby comes out of the mother's womb and it's crying. And there's this fear. Where is sustenance? Where is food? Where is warmth? Where is protection? And then the baby grows up and there's all this other fear that where's my mother? Where's my father? I hope I don't get lost. Fearful dreams come. All of these fears. And as we grow and we grow, we become afraid of not getting good grades and are ruining our future if we don't pass our exams. And then we have other fears of who will I marry? And everything looks like ambition. We call it ambition, we call it desire, but in reality it's just fear. It's actually just trying to overcome the fear we have of loss, of failure, of loneliness, of so many things. Right? Vita, raga, bhaya, krodha. Krishna says the three operative things in this world are raga, attachment, bhaya, fear, and krodha, or anger. And that's the combination of those is what we go through. Like a person lost, and we spend our whole lifetime experiencing that fear until somehow we get that GPS signal back. At some point, we recover our connection with the paramatma within the heart and hear his voice, a voice that we are not attuned to listening to, a voice that we can't hear clearly. It's a signal that we can't distinguish from the noise. You know, when scientists are looking for life on other planets, then they're looking for specific signals in certain radio frequencies. There was this one instance last year, I think, in Australia, some really remote lab that was, big, huge telescope shining into the night and looking for these extraterrestrial signals for life and for other things, looking for waves from different planets and galaxies. And there was this amazing, powerful new signal they discovered. It was coming at erratic times. It was unpredictable by any mathematical formula. The only thing that was predictable was that it used to peak sometime around noon, 12 or 1 o'clock, when the sun was highest in the sky. This caused a huge stir. This is not, I'm not making this up. It caused a huge stir in the whole community there of scientists and the wider scientific community. And they looked and looked and looked for the source of it and tried to predict it until they discovered that it was some kind of a frequency emitted by the microwave in the lunch break room in the observatory. That if you open the microwave before the cycle is done, then it emits this frequency that they were picking up, their instruments were picking up. So Our condition in this world is like that. We know that there's some guidance there in the heart, but the average person doesn't know how to distinguish the real frequency of the Paramatma's guidance from all the other noise that we have. What's the noise? We have the frequencies that come from our own mind, our own desires, our lust and our anger and our greed. And sometimes we think this is Krishna's dictation that we should do this. Right? So many people have done so many nonsense things in the name of God. God has directed me to do this, kill that person, blow up this bomb, whatever it might be. So we can't hear it, distinguish it from the dictations of our own mind, or the pushes of our false ego, or the pressures of society around us. You should behave like this. You should, in order to be successful, this is the measure, right? You have to have this size of house and this many cars and this color of carpet, then you're successful. All this noise is there from friends, from family, from our own mind, from our senses, from the false ego. And through all of that, we try to hear what is the instruction of the Lord in the heart. And it's difficult. We can't distinguish it so clearly. So Krishna consciousness is a process, jitatmana prashantasya, paramatma samahita. It's a process of clarifying those frequencies and those signals by damping down, by controlling all that other noise. Jitatmana, Krishna says, by controlling our senses, prashantasya, by making the mind peaceful, then paramatma samahita. Now we can hear the signal from the Paramatma. Right? Now we can hear it. Up to that point we can't. How? How do we do that? How do we come to that point of hearing the Paramatma's signal? Well, first we have to hear that signal when it is loudest and clearest. The problem is that when it emerges from the core of our heart, it's too faint for us to distinguish from our other signals. But the Paramatma is present not just internally, but also externally. And that signal can be heard much more loudly and clearly through external signification. The Paramatma, when externally we hear that signal, it comes in what form? Through where? So externally, one important source is the spiritual master, right? The spiritual master is the manifestation, external manifestation of the super soul. And the guidance that we might get from inside, we have to take from the outside. And when we do get guidance from the inside, we have to corroborate it from the outside as well. And so the spiritual master becomes a very important source of the Paramatma's guidance. The second, as important also, is the external manifestation of the Paramatma is time, the time factor. Bhagavatam describes that Paramatma on the outside, in a visible form, is the time factor. You see, time is present everywhere. In all places, in all circumstances, in every corner of this world. Just like the Paramatma is present in all times, all places, in every corner of this world. And the power of the Paramatma, of the Super Soul, is felt in the inexorable, uncontrollable power of time in this world. Our relationship with the Paramatma is exemplified, is indicated by our relationship with the time factor. There's this really nice verse in Srimad Bhagavatam in the story of Vishwarupa when the demigods are going to Lord Vishnu asking for help from Vritrasura. And when they ask for help, they say something very nice in their prayers. They say that we offer our humble obeisances to the Super Soul who is present in this world by properly honoring and respecting the time factor. Just think about how the difference between how a devotee relates with time and how the non-devotee relates with time. One of the most common phrases you hear on the street in terms of time is, "What are you doing?" "Oh, nothing, I'm just killing time." For a devotee, this is a horrific statement. Killing time means killing the supersoul. This is the the demon's relationship with the Lord. This is Hiranyakashipu's relationship with Lord Vishnu. Killing time. Killing Lord Vishnu. This was his goal. A devotee's approach to time, right? We kill time, we manage time, right? How to manage, how to control time, how to sort it out. We're always in this mood. Somehow I have to be controller of time. I have to master it. Maybe I can even kill it. And that language indicates something. From a devotee's perspective, time is our master. And we worship time by properly valuing every moment of it. Because a devotee recognizes that I'm not killing time. Rather, it's the opposite. Time is killing me. Right? Bhagavatam says, Ayur harati vai pumsam udyan astan chayan aso. That udyan astan, by its rising and setting, the sun is taking away the lifespan of every living entity. Ayur harati vai pumsam. So I'm not killing time. Time is killing me. And so I have to be respectful of time. Bow down before it. Worship it. Not by doing arti. How we worship time? The devas say, by properly valuing every moment of time we have. And understanding that I serve the Lord through this vehicle of the time factor. This is the devotee's approach to time management. We don't manage time. We recognize that Krishna is running the show. This is why he says in Bhagavad-Gita, Kalosmi sarvakshayakrit praviddho. He says, time I am, the great destroyer of these worlds. Krishna says very clearly, I'm killing you. Time is killing you, not the other way around. So what can we do? Well, Arjun's first response, all you can do is, you bow down. He trembles in front of Krishna. He's already trembling, in chapter 11. He's trembling in front of Krishna when he sees that universal form with Saharsha, Shiyasha, Purusha, Sahasraksha, Sahasrapat, and he's frightened like anything. And he says, Namastubhyam, I offer obeisances to you from the front, from the behind, forward and backward, again and again, 1,000 times, I offer obeisances to you. Tell me, Krishna, who are you? And what is your purpose here? He's practically dying in fear. And Krishna tells him what his reply, it doesn't help him at all. He says, time I am, the great destroyer of these worlds. At that point you can imagine, Arjun's just ready to have a heart attack. He's just completely finished at that point. Krishna, instead of calming him down, he makes it worse. He says, I'm time, I've come here to destroy all of you. And except for you 5 Pandavas, you'll all be destroyed. But then afterwards, he calms down a little bit, right? He relaxes and he says, no, let this be finished. Let me see your intimate form as Krishna. So the point being that time is very powerful. And a devotee who recognizes this, values every minute of time to offer in Krishna's service, and respects the power of time when it moves things in a way that is outside his or her control. When Bali Maharaj, he had conquered heaven, then Vamandev came and he took the 3 steps and took away everything from him. At that point, Vamanadev bound Bali Maharaj with the ropes of Varuna and stepped on his head and took away his own body, pushed him down. And at that point, all of the people of all his followers, the demons, became so angry because this was unjust. The Lord had cheated Bali Maharaj out of his entire kingdom. They started attacking the demigods. And the demigods were slaying the demons left and right, just smashing them, killing them. And Bali Maharaj, he turned towards the demons, who were his own followers and like his own children, and he said, "Please, my children, why are you doing this? Why are you fighting?" These same demigods, who just a little while ago you had completely destroyed, right? They had taken over the kingdom of heaven. Just a little while ago. Now they are destroying you left and right so easily. He says something very important. He says, now the power, the force of time is no longer in your favor. So please wait until the tide of time turns again. So a devotee works with time, we respect time, we manage it very carefully by using every moment in Krishna's service, but we also know that ultimately the power of time is beyond us. And at some point, at some times, despite our best efforts, it will not go in our favor. The force of time is against us. And those are times when the devotee puts his head down low and focuses on the cultivation of his own Krishna consciousness. Internal work of building our spiritual strength, so that when the time is ripe, we can again come out in full force and do our service for the Lord. You see this in the life of Srila Prabhupada, for example. How he waited, he cultivated, he prepared himself, went to Vrindavan, prepared, always with the instruction of his spiritual master in his mind, but waiting for the right time. And it finally came at the age of 69. He finally got the opportunity, a ticket on a steamship, a freighter ship, cargo ship. And he did amazing, wonderful things. So this is this we see, right? This is the quality of someone who is paramatma samahita, someone who is in touch with the paramatma. That person learns to hear the dictations of paramatma and serve the paramatma through the instructions of the spiritual master, through the proper attitude towards the time factor, which is the external representation of the Supersoul, through the Supersoul's instructions from scriptures or shastra, and the guidance we receive from other senior devotees, sadhu. In all of these ways, this person becomes paramatma samahita, completely absorbed, completely in touch with the Supersoul within the heart. So as devotees, this is our role in Krishna consciousness, is that we have to work towards this point. We have to gradually learn to hear the instructions of the Lord in our own lives. From here, yes, but also from here, and from here, and from the time factor, which is all around us. And as we become more and more controlled in our senses and more steady in our practice, that voice becomes louder and louder, until everything we do is more or less okay, because we're in touch with the Supersoul in the heart. And this is the position of a sannyasi. A sannyasi has to be at least on this level of paramatma samahita, of being jitatmana prashantasya paramatma. Otherwise, it is impossible to maintain sannyas, because you have to be completely dependent on the Supersoul while remaining peaceful in mind. A sannyasi, having no home and no bank account and no possessions, cannot know where the next meal is coming from or where the next bed will be. And in that position needs to be completely carefree and joyful and happy and peaceful. Jitatmana prashantasya. Now tell me, in our condition, as grihastas, as most of us are, if we don't know where the next meal is coming from or where we will sleep at night, is that a cause for prashantasya, for peacefulness? And No, it's the opposite, right? It's a cause for great anxiety for us. Right? But we can ultimately, as we go through our life, our Krishna consciousness, and we progress from Grihastha to Vanaprastha and perhaps to Sannyasa, then we can come to this point, right, of in our own lives gradually becoming more and more dependent on the super soul within the heart, and understanding that I have a fail-proof friend, a friend who will never fail me right here within the core of my heart. And therefore, I have nothing to fear, I have nothing to lose, I have no suffering that I will encounter because he is always there as my support. And in that state of mind, I can truly be prashanta, I can truly be peaceful, right? And that's what we're trying to strive to in our gradual way as we progress in our Krishna consciousness. So I stop there and see if anyone has any comments or thoughts or anything they'd like to add or questions they want to ask. Yes.
So many things about Gita. And Gita is in our blood. We follow Gita, but different people follow different ways. Right now we discuss about time. In Sanskrit we have a special saying. Kanatyage kuto Ksanatyage kuto vidya, Kanatyage kuto dana. One kshan even, one moment even if we are wasting, we cannot study. So moment makes full lifespan. Our lifespan is considered in moment. The next is saying about fear. The first good quality in Gita is abhayam. In 16th chapter it is given abhayam sattvam shuddhi. So first good quality is abhayam. We should make ourselves such way prepared that we should have no fear. And when there is no fear, nothing to lose. Thy will be done on the earth as it is in heaven. They will always think that I am sick because mother cares for me. The same way we should think that Almighty God always takes care for us. Before our birth, He has thought what we shall have food. He has given milk in our mother's breast. He has given teeth. He will give us food. But He never says that don't cry for it. We have to cry. We have to do our duty and the remaining He will do. In English also they say that do your best and the God will do the rest. But if we simply rest, He will do nothing for us. So the rest He will do, but best He have to give. I think I am clear. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
I must thank her. She has given me chance to have prasad here.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Or? Yes, Prabhu.
I'm trying to understand how much our advancement is in our own endeavors, or how much is just mercy, because sometimes it seems like there's like really only mercy, and like really I'm completely dependent on whatever's happening. I don't even know how I came to Krishna consciousness or how I'm continuing to practice, but if you have any insight on that.
Yeah, so our own effort and Krishna's mercy, right? You know, in the story of Krishna being tied with a rope around to a wooden grinding mortar by his mother Yashoda, Damodar Lila. So the acharyas explain that there's, you know, when Mother Yashoda ties Krishna, then the length of the rope as she tries to tie him always comes 2 fingers too short. And the acharyas explain that, Sanatana Goswami, that these 2 fingers too short, 1 finger that is needed to complete the gap so that we can actually get Krishna, so we can tie Krishna. 1 finger is our own endeavor, and the other finger is Krishna's mercy. And when both combine together, then we can get Krishna. So these two things, like two tracks on a railway, have to go simultaneously, hand in hand. And a devotee's conviction is that I'm totally dependent on Krishna's mercy. But why should I take service from Krishna? So let me put in my full endeavor, right? So a devotee knows that nothing can happen without Krishna's desire. And Krishna's mercy is in fact driving anything. But at the same time, the devotee is feeling, I don't want to take advantage of Krishna's mercy. I don't want to make Krishna serve me. So let me put in as much effort as I can to serve Krishna. Why should he serve me, right? So we work our full level best to serve the Lord, while at the same time depending 100% on his mercy. And this is the beautiful paradox of the process of bhakti, right? That a devotee 100% depends on Krishna while making 100% effort himself. How is this possible? In the material sense, if you put in 100% effort yourself, then what do you assume? That 100% everything depends on me. And on the other hand, if you depend 100% on someone else, then what happens? I'm not going to put in any effort. This is the natural material situation. And yet the paradox of spiritual life, of devotional service, is that a devotee feels 100% everything depends on Krishna, and 100% I'm going to put in my effort to serve Krishna. And when these two feelings come together, then that devotee very quickly achieves perfection, right? That very quickly attains the Lord's shelter. So one or the other is useful, but it takes more time that way. If we just work, and don't depend on Krishna's mercy, then we become disappointed with our own work. And if we just depend on Krishna's mercy, we don't make an effort, then our progress becomes slow, because Krishna, he's waiting for us to make our end, right? This is how we purify ourselves. We get purified, is when we make our endeavor in Krishna consciousness. So Krishna will give his mercy, but the purification will be very slow because we're not putting in our own endeavor. So it's always both and, it's never either or. We have to do both simultaneously, fully, 100%. Yeah. Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for the wonderful class. So one of the points you discussed in the lecture was the difference in perspective of how a devotee sees time and how a materialist may see time. Now, as devotees, we try to utilize every moment in Krishna service, and you were telling that like a materialist may try to control time. Can you give some practical examples in devotees in a life of a devotee where we may start going in this direction of trying to control time? Because we may think that we are trying to use each moment in Krishna's service, and we may lose track on what way we are.
Yes. So basically we end up, this mood of controlling time is basically a symptom of the mode of passion. Right? When in our work as devotees, or in our jobs, or in our service, or whatever, we move from the mode of goodness, from the position of Shuddha Sattva, or just even Sattva, we move from that to the quality of Rajas, then it becomes this passionate, Krishna says the quality of the mode of passion is working over endeavor. Right? Atyahara prayasasya prajalpo niyamagraha. So this idea of prayasa, of over endeavor, basically, in our practice of devotional service, we have to balance things very nicely, because sometimes we begin in the mode of goodness with an intention to serve Krishna, and then very quickly, or sometime later, it becomes, from devotional service, it becomes personal ambition, with the idea of achieving something for our own satisfaction of ego. And when that transition happens, then the mode of passion emerges. And a symptom of that is that we're trying to just control time. We're trying to instead of utilizing time nicely in Krishna's service, we're trying to get time to serve us. and packing and packing and packing and packing and pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing until time finally kills us and we collapse of overexhaustion or frustration or anger or relationship problems, whatever. And again, we have to calm down, reassess our mode of passion, reassess our relationship with time, and recognize, no, I'm not going to pack so much into what I'm doing, right? I have to make choices. I have to decide what are my priorities. One time I was speaking to my spiritual master, Hanumat Preshaka Swami, and explaining that, how I was having difficulty trying to fit in all my sadhana and the quality was not good and it's going down. And Maharaj, he said some very nice things. He said, first of all, you have to understand that ultimately Krishna is the maintainer. You are not feeding your family. Krishna is feeding your family. You are not doing your job. Krishna is doing your job. Paurusham Nishu. He is the ability in man. So let him do his job. Why are you trying to do his job? Why don't you get your priorities back in order? Right? He said your first priority is your good sadhana. Get up early, get your rounds done. Second priority is take care of your family. Krishna has given you this wonderful family and this responsibility. This is your duty. In order to do that, your third priority is to make sure your job goes well. And then, with every last moment you have left, engage that in Prabhupada's Sankirtan mission. So he laid it out so clearly and so nicely. And I said, yes, Guru Maharaj, I will try harder. And his response surprised me. He said, no, don't try harder. Try smarter, try better. Don't try harder. And at that moment, I understood the difference in my perspective and his, right? That my idea was, oh, that means Guru Maharaj is saying I have to pack more into my day. And I'm going to shove it down my throat and just do it and do it. And his point was, no. This cannot be your attitude towards your life, towards your spiritual life, towards the time factor, right? We have to find, okay, how can I set my priorities straight, do things nicely in a way that pleases Guru and Krishna? And that's a position in the mode of goodness, rather than in the mode of passion, where we can fool ourselves into thinking we're doing great devotional service when in fact we're just acting in this very intense mode of passion. We know when that transfer has happened into prayasa, when our basic priorities are not being met. Right? We cannot fulfill our basic vows to our spiritual master, and yet we're thinking, I'm doing so much devotional service. Then we know my spiritual life is suffering. I'm now in the zone of over endeavor. My relationship with time has just changed. Yes. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you so much for a wonderful class. You were talking about how we can attain that consciousness more dependent on Krishna, because as grihasthas, when we do our work, it's very difficult to realize that Krishna is doing. I mean, we try to fit in, example practically, even trying for a job, even when things are not working out, we have to give it every shot and everything. And how do you get off with this paradox, whatever is you have to get will, we say that, right, comes by your own karma, so whatever you have to enjoy and suffer comes by that, but we try to put in every effort from our side, so this doership and this paradox, these two are...
Yes. Actually, the answer to your question is both difficult and also very simple, right? That we maintain that proper consciousness, even as grihasthas, by ensuring that we do our 16 rounds very, very nicely. When we do our chanting, when we do our japa, we take that time, 1.5 to 2 hours, to focus fully on Krishna and make that time exclusively for Krishna. The mind becomes so peaceful, so calm, so purified, that practically speaking, then anything else you do in the day Krishna will guide you. If it's not right, if it's too much in the mode of passion, he will give you an indication, right? If we do our vows to our spiritual master, hearing, chanting, study of Prabhupada's books, the basic program Prabhupada gave us, chanting 16 good rounds, studying Srimad Bhagavatam regularly, associating with devotees and doing some service. If we do this basic process, then we cannot be certain that our actions will be perfect. We will make mistakes, but we can be certain that Krishna will let us know if we make mistakes, if we do something wrong. He will give us a clear indication. And if we're humble, we will take that indication and we will correct our ways, right? So that is the paramatma samahita, the guidance of the paramatma doesn't mean that, oh, now this person will become 100% perfect. It means that the paramatma will let you know if you are wavering off the track, so you can correct course. And so, again, my spiritual master, he says, you do your 16 good rounds every day. He says you do the full morning program and you can do any damn thing you please the rest of the day. And it's true, because you cannot get yourself to do anything wrong. And if you do, oh, Krishna, he slaps you and you realize, oh, what was I doing? Right? I really pushed the line here. I really did something wrong. So then we can be certain Krishna is there to protect us. But if we don't have the shelter of the spiritual master, if we don't follow Prabhupada's instructions, then what guarantee do we have, right? We're relying entirely on the strength, on the wisdom of our own mind. And if we have any honesty, we will know that our mind is not something trustworthy, right? We may be smart, but we're not wise enough to prevent ourselves from falling into ditches every once in a while. So we really need Krishna's guidance, and the only way we can rest assured is when we follow the instructions of the external supersoul. Then we can be sure that from inside Krishna will give us the right guidance as well.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for your wonderful class. Your concepts are very clear. So I had a question that I think I may be wrong, but whatever karmas we do are basically to lead us all to a higher lesson, maybe enlightenment or realization of God or whatever. So when Krishna says that when you surrender unto him, he will take away the reactions of all the bad karmas, then doesn't the progress of the soul stop, because then we are not, he takes away all the punishment, and so supposedly, I may be wrong again, but then that's what I think after reading. So then also my question is that supposing I have a fear of hell, so then can Krishna stop me from going to hell? And then if he can, then is it the right thing for the soul to?
Yes. So it's a good question. If Krishna stops the flow of karma, then if we don't get the reactions of our karma, how will we ever learn in this world, right? Because how will the soul improve? Because it's through our action or karma and through experiencing the reactions that we improve. And the answer is that Krishna turns off he takes away all of our karma so that we don't have to experience the reactions to our actions, but then he replaces that with his personal hand of guidance, right? So in other words, Krishna gives us certain elements of our karma at the right time, in the right quantity, so that we can learn the lesson we need. It's a very targeted learning experience, right? Just like when a little child is playing with a fan, and the fan is going really fast, and the child is insisting on sticking his finger in the fan. Now this is very dangerous, right? It will get hurt. So this is like our karma. We do stupid things and we get really bad reactions as a result. But what does Krishna do when we surrender to him? He turns the fan off. He unplugs the fan. But we still have these bad material desires. I want to stick my finger in the fan. I want to try that. So Krishna, what he does is he puts it on low speed. And then he says, okay, now you stick your finger in the fan. And we stick our finger and we go, ow! But we don't lose our finger, right? It's pain, it's suffering, but it's in a measured quantity so that we can learn a decent lesson from it, rather than losing all hope, rather than losing our entire finger. So Krishna won't slice off our neck. He might take a little off our nose. And in this way, we learn some humility, we learn some tolerance, we learn our lesson, but we don't lose everything. Right? So that's what Krishna does. He turns off our karma, but then he gives it back in measured ways for our improvement.
So then, according to you, he can actually stop us from going to hell?
Of course. Of course. Krishna can, just like that. I mean, even Krishna, just by doing a little devotional service, we can remove the possibility of going to the hellish planets. Why not? But he will make sure we don't go to hell, but he will make sure that we still make improvement and we learn our lessons in this world. Krishna, the one thing he does not do is he doesn't let the devotee stagnate in his Krishna consciousness. He may let someone else just sit there and, spin wheels in mud, but not with a devotee. He's always looking to make progress. And so he'll never let a devotee live peacefully until we are purified in our Krishna consciousness. This is why people often look at devotees and say, why is devotees' life so much more troublesome? The karmis are living happily, They fight with someone, they walk away. I fight with someone, I still have to work with them in the temple and I have to serve. And this is Krishna's way, He makes sure that we never stagnate. He sees some problem and he fixes it. And wow, I got over that anartha. And then he'll find another one. He doesn't give us peace until we get free of that. Right? This is his point in this verse. Jitatmana prashantasya paramatma samahita. That Krishna doesn't wait. He doesn't rest until we are jitatmana, we have controlled our senses, and we are prashanta, we are peaceful. Then he says, okay, now you can rest. But until that point, he's going to prod our anarthas, he's going to dig and dig and dig, and he's going to poke and poke and poke until we become purified. More and more. So, our time is up, it's 8:30. The deities have taken rest, and we have to still drive back. So we want to thank you again, and especially to the visiting devotees who are coming from far away, and the local devotees who are hosting us. Thank you so much for your association, and I hope you have a wonderful occasion tomorrow here in His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj's association. I'm so unfortunate I will miss tomorrow's program because we are booked to give Sunday Feast lecture in Naperville, and if any of you want to volunteer to give that class in Naperville, I'll be very grateful. I'll come here instead and listen to Maharaj. But anyway, thank you for this brief association. Hope to see you all soon. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Bhagavad-Gita ki jai. Bhai Gaur Premanandi Hari.